Well, good Sunday morning to you. It is 6:30 on December 17th. Taking a live look over Iowa City right now, and here's what you need to know today. Honoring victims. A museum is pushing to honor the victims of the Las Vegas shooting by preserving a memorial for years to come. The president is defending the GOP tax plan, saying he knows he has the votes to make the bill ready for his desk. And in the largest turnout yet, an Iowa community is thanking all the people who came out to honor Iowa veterans.
Now, from your 24-hour news source, this is the KCRG-TV9 Weekend Morning News.
Well, welcome back in. And if you're heading out to church or breakfast or anywhere else this morning, you might want to be a little careful, right, Chris?
Yeah, I think mainly for our northern counties, but we could see some patchy dense fog developing in other spots around eastern Iowa. Visibilities really aren't that bad as far as what the gauges are reporting, but they could be locally dense in a few spots. So please be cautious out there and watch out for some slick spots when we have that colder air in place and that fog. Sometimes some of the sidewalks and surfaces can get a little slick out there. Here's your temperatures at this hour: 28 in Decorah and Charles City, where the fog is most dense, 30 in Cedar Rapids and Manchester, as well as Dubuque, and 31 in Iowa City. Now for the today, we're going to see that morning fog. High temperatures later today will be in the mid to upper 30s. Have to watch out for some showers, mainly for our southern counties. Mostly cloudy skies otherwise. And then for tonight, partly cloudy down to 28. We'll show you where those showers may have the best chance of occurring and whether how heavy they're going to be coming up in your full first alert forecast. We'll also take a look at a mild work week coming up for us. So if you missed out on Saturday's really nice weather, more of the same coming up for Monday. Back to you, Bria.
Thank you, Chris. New this morning, they were simple wooden crosses, but they became among the most heartfelt tributes to the 58 lives taken in the Las Vegas shooting in October. Jeff Gillian explains how one museum is trying to preserve this tribute for years to come.
They stand silently, a reminder of Las Vegas's worst moment. 58 names, 58 crosses. And Sue Ann Cornwell and her sister wanted one more chance to say goodbye to Denise Burditis.
You have a personal connection to one of the crosses.
Yes, I do.
Sue Ann and her sister were at that concert, too.
After I got my sister out, I went back in and carried some people out, and then they needed trucks.
Sue Ann's became an ambulance, and at that moment, her life became connected to a woman she never met. She raced to the hospital with the wounded Denise Burditis, 50 years old, from West Virginia.
Unfortunately, Denise passed away in the back of my truck.
One life, one cross, one person the Clark County Museum will not let be forgotten.
This is a permanent part of the County Museum collection, and we will be caring for it for hundreds of years.
Sunday, these 58 crosses will be put into protected climate-controlled storage. They are important and fragile artifacts.
The problem is that these are falling apart out here. They're beginning to break down, and we don't want that to happen.
Inside the museum, they're doing the careful cataloging of all the things placed by each cross, all to make sure this history is not misplaced or forgotten. Sue Ann's sister, Billy.
What do you see when you see this?
Well, I see 58 people. It's not just a number.
It's important that we don't forget because, history is who we are. It's part of our makeup, whether it's good history or bad history.
But that night, for better or worse, is our history, with an obligation to never forget.
That was Jeff Gillian reporting. President Trump is defending the GOP's tax reform bill. Final votes are expected next week in Congress. If it passes, the tax plan would mark the first major legislative victory for Trump and for the GOP-controlled House and Senate. The final version cuts taxes for 5 of 7 current tax brackets, and critics say the bill doesn't do much to simplify the tax code as promised. On his way to Camp David yesterday, President Trump told reporters the Republican tax bill will benefit everyone.
You look at the whole thing, everybody's going to benefit. But I think the greatest benefit is going to be for jobs and for the middle class, middle income.
We moved from the goal of tax reform, which had the objective of growing the economy over the long term and making our unsustainable debt situation better instead of worse, into tax cuts.
We will begin today.
Republican leaders appear to have enough votes to get their bill passed. Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Bob Corker have pledged their support for the plan after threatening to vote no. And you won't see your state tax refund as early as you might have in the past. The Iowa Department of Revenue says that's because this year they are doubling down on fraud prevention efforts. Last spring, Iowans were told their income tax refunds would be delayed to combat identity theft and fraud. The agency says it's doing it again after stopping nearly 10,500 incorrect refunds from being processed. Those accounted for are more than $17 million. And new this morning, it was a touching ceremony at the Iowa Veterans Cemetery as volunteers laid wreaths beside every gravestone. It's all a part of a national program to honor veterans called Wreaths Across America. KCCI's Tommy Clark was there for the largest turnout at the Iowa Veterans Cemetery that they've ever seen.
Hundreds of people gathered at the Iowa Veterans Cemetery Saturday for Wreaths Across America. Organizers say it's so much more, though, than decorating a gravestone with a wreath. It's about the meaning behind each wreath, the qualities that veterans embody, like strength and humility. Everything about the wreath represents something, right down to its circular shape.
This is what's the most important. It represents eternity.
For the past decade, wreaths have been laid on these gravestones. This time last year, frigid temperatures and snowy conditions took over the ceremony. But this time around, beautiful weather meant the biggest crowd yet.
It's overwhelming to see the crowd and the people that are so thankful to doing this, because it is a way to remember their loved one at the Christmas time when they're no longer there.
As the ceremony got underway, there was a renewed focus on helping families grieve together.
When the veteran serves, the whole family serves, you know, and this is the whole family healing.
Susan Wynn Lunning helped organize this year's event. She was a nurse at the VA, and her father and son served in the Army. She wants everyone to understand the importance of this day.
This is the real reason. Remember, honor, teach for Wreaths Across America for our veterans. We owe them so much.
Supporting people like Chris Thornburg, whose father served in the Korean War.
It's a special occasion for all the vets out here.
Now, a line of wreaths lay beside each gravestone, making sure each veteran is honored for their sacrifice.
And the home of the brave.
Reporting in Van Meter, Tommy Clark, KCCI News, Iowa's news leader.
New this morning, 76 years later, an Evansville, Indiana sailor who died at Pearl Harbor has finally come home. George Wilcox died aboard the USS Oklahoma on December 7th, 1941. And thanks to DNA technology, the Navy has finally been able to identify George. This is video of his remains arriving into Louisville Airport Friday. His funeral was yesterday. He will be buried next to his father. And after many celebrities and political figures have been accused of sexual misconduct, like Chef Mario Batali, he has since apologized, but some are a little confused with what he added to his apology. Stay with your 24-hour news source. It's 6:37.
You're watching your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV9, with Bria Love and meteorologist Chris Hadley. This is KCRG-TV9 Weekend Morning News.